Hey there, America! This is Ben Goldman coming to you from The Ben Goldman Show. It's August the 1st, 2019, and I'm here to roast some Democrat debate candidates from last night. Let's get started with the losers. The losers of last night were, let's start with the number one loser, Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris came out of the first debate as the biggest winner, according to most media outlets, mainly because of that whole I am that little girl attack she did on Joe Biden over his support for busing. But this debate wasn't so good for her. She came across as the person that she really is, which is a very boring person. Everyone thought she was boring. She focused her entire night around attacking Joe Biden. So did a lot of other people. But frankly, she was one of the worst at it. And it didn't help when Tulsi Gabbard came in and absolutely crushed Kamala. Sat there, came after her time as a California Attorney General.
But I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. That would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Kamala put over 1,500 people in jail on marijuana charges. And then when someone asked her, "Hey, Kamala, have you ever smoked marijuana?" She laughed. She thought it was funny. She had, but apparently it wasn't funny. It wasn't one of those things. She laughed. She thought it was funny. She had smoked marijuana, but at the same time, she had no problem throwing all those random people in prison for the same thing that she was doing herself. Not only that, but Gabbard hit her on one of the hardest things anyone's ever seen in a Democrat debate. She called out Kamala for blocking evidence. Kamala Harris blocked evidence that would have gotten an innocent man off of death row just because she didn't want to see it happen. She sits there and says she's against the death penalty, but she was ready to see this guy die. Apparently, national authorities had to step in and help him because Kamala didn't want anyone to know about the evidence that would have exonerated him. Absolutely horrible. She looked terrible. She looked like a joke. And she was willing to kill this person. Do you know what she did to respond to Tulsi Gabbard? She went on a talk show the next day, today, and said, I don't care what Tulsi says because I'm a top tier candidate.
And this is going to sound immodest, but I'm obviously a top-tier candidate, and so I did expect that I would be on the stage and take hits tonight because there are a lot of people that are trying to make the stage for the next debate.
Yeah, for a lot of them, it's do or die.
Well, yeah, and especially when people are at 0 or 1% or whatever she might be at. And
she called herself a top-tier candidate. She said she's too good for her, and because of that, her attacks don't work. Problem is, Kamala, is they were the truth. Not only that, but everyone on stage was hitting you for your flip-floppy healthcare plans. First debate, you say, you raise your hand, I'm all for Medicare for all. And then, right after that, you go out and you're like, well, maybe we can keep our private plans and not have Medicare for all. Flipped it like 12 times between debate 1 and debate 2. And then you get out there and you have no idea what you're talking about. You have no plan, Kamala. You have no plan. Look at what the internet says. Everyone thinks you did a horrible job, Kamala. Also, Joe Biden. Whoo, boy. Old Joe Biden. Man, Joe came out there. He was ready to attack Kamala Harris. His campaign, for some reason, even made a public announcement that Joe was going to be tough this time. Apparently, to be tough, you have to tell everyone about it first. But whatever, it didn't help at all because Tough Joe still isn't that great. He got up there and kept saying over and over and over, with Obama, with Obama, with Obama, Okay, Joe, we get it. You're taking credit for everything Obama did. That's your whole accomplishment. You've been in the Senate since what, the 70s? since the 70s, and the best you can do is, well, when I was vice president, Barack Obama did this. Sure, Obama's popular with Democrats. Sure he is. But Joe, come on. You have to have done something. Not only that, but right before the debate, when they came on stage, Joe Biden walked over to Kamala Harris, looked at her, and said, "Go easy on me, kid."
Senator Kamala Harris.
Go easy on me, kid.
You good?
Really, Joe? Go easy on you? It's a presidential debate. Get over it. And don't ask that, especially not on a hot mic. There's a recording of it. It's crazy. It looks so pitiful. And when he was arguing with Cory Booker, of all people, Joe Biden called him future Mr. President.
Senator Biden, I want to give you a chance to respond.
The fact is that the bills that the future president here,
I think he thought it was going to be an insult. I think that. But Joe, you're wrong. You basically just endorsed Cory Booker's candidacy. Man, what in the world were you thinking? He claimed that an op-ed that he wrote in 1981 that said that women in the workforce are bad for American culture, he said he didn't believe it. But Joe, if you didn't believe it back then, why'd you write it? You were already a senator for almost 10 years at the time. You had a public persona, and that means you have no excuses left. None. Oh, and also, I believe you may remember when old Senator Cory Booker called out Joe, called him out for being an Obama lackey. Nothing but an Obama lackey. And when push came to shove and Cory Booker started going after Barack Obama's policies, Joe Biden was like, well, I had nothing to do with that one. Convenient much? Joe, you are out of this, man. You are not a good candidate. And I think the final closing, you had the final statement of the night, Joe. The final statement. You know what Joe Biden said? He said, oh, if you guys agree with me, visit Joe 30330.
if you agree with me, go to Joe 30330 and help me in this fight. Thank you very much.
But wait, Joe, if you look that up, that's not even a website. That was supposed to be text Joe to 30330. You don't know what you're talking about. You're clearly out of it. Technology obviously confuses you so much that you don't even know what a text message is. Let's just move on, Joe. And one of my favorite punching bags, Bill de Blasio. Bill was out there last night. Bill thought that if he was out there and he hit some people hard, maybe he'd have a good night. Maybe he could become president. But wait, Bill, you forgot that everyone in New York seems to hate you. They seem to hate you. And you know what proof of that was? A bunch of anti-Bill de Blasio protesters showed up at last night's debate, which was not even in New York. They went all the way to the debate last night just to protest Bill de Blasio because he didn't fire the cop that strangleholded Eric Garner to death. To death, Bill. You're an embarrassment. You are an embarrassment to, I'm not even a Democrat, but come on, Bill. You're an embarrassment to the Democrat Party, and that's an impressive accomplishment with AOC and Elon and all of them. But let's talk about the winners now. The winners of last night's debate were, number one, Cory Booker. Surprise, surprise. Actually, I don't think any of us could have seen old Spartacus winning a debate, God forbid. The guy just says so many off-the-rails things, but it worked for him last night. In a field full of boring people, and almost everyone out there was extremely boring, Cory Booker looked like the shining city on the hill. That's what he looked like. He looked like the shining city on the hill. And yet, He didn't say a substantive thing even once. Most of it was all Biden bashing. That's right, Obama lackey destroyed him on his criminal justice You see, Joe Biden bragged about being a piece of every single criminal justice bill since the 1970s, including a 1994 criminal justice bill that Biden helped author that actually was the cause of many minorities going to prison over minor infractions federally. Joe Biden bragged about that, and then he goes up there and he's like, I'm going to be the best person for criminal justice reform. I'm going to stop people from going to jail. But Joe, you put him there, and Cory Booker knew it.
Trying to get rid of the crack cocaine.
Mr. Vice President, there's a saying in my community, you're dipping into the Kool-Aid and you don't even know the flavor. You need to come to the city of Newark and see the reforms that we put in place. The New Jersey head of the ACLU has said that I embraced reforms, not just in action, but in deed. Sir, you are trying to shift the view from what you created. There are people right now in prison for life for drug offenses because you stood up and used that tough on crime, phony rhetoric that got a lot of people elected, but destroyed communities like mine. This isn't about the past, sir. This is about the present right now.
Good job for you, Mr. Booker. You actually did an impressive job. You're the most entertaining person out there. And it didn't hurt that the former vice president, again, endorsed Cory Booker as Mr. Future President. God. So congratulations, Cory. You performed extremely well in that debate. Credit where credit's due. Credit where credit's due. Tulsi Gabbard came out very well from that debate. Tulsi Gabbard, she wasn't funny. One of my closest friends told me once that the funniest person wins president. Tulsi wasn't funny, but she was strong. She was very, very strong. And frankly, she kind of destroyed Kamala Harris's chances to become president with that whole criminal justice death row thing we just talked about. That was it. Everyone's going to attack her on it, and Kamala's going to have to spend all of her time on defense now. It's not going to be that great. And that moment was the the most viral moment from the entire debate across all social media platforms. That's how well she did. Tulsi ran the internet. She was the #1 most searched candidate after last night's debate and the #1 most searched candidate after the first debate. And that's all on top of the fact that she's suing Google right now for unfair practices, which they do. So Tulsi, get this. You're suing Google, they cheat, and yet you still manage to own their search engine. Good for you. Good for you, Tulsi. And let's not forget, you did promise in your first year in office, if elected president, you would bring all the troops home from Iraq because they've been there that long. Obviously a personal thing for her. Tulsi's a veteran, cares a lot about our troops. So that's actually not a bad platform to run on. Tulsi, good job. Try throwing a couple more jokes in there. Don't sound too scripted. But you did great last night. And let's go on ahead and be honest here. The biggest winner of last night, most likely not on stage, was President Donald John Trump. Donald Trump looks great amongst these weak Democrats, especially when people like Tulsi and Marianne, who both had great internet nights afterward, Tulsi Gabbard and Marianne Williamson, who both had great internet nights right after their debates, aren't even invited to the third debate yet. They haven't hit the poll numbers. You see the DNC hand-selected their own 4 polls so they could hand-select their own candidates again. But these guys, some of the best candidates, some of the most popular candidates, aren't even out there right now. Andrew Yang sent a poll that he created to the DNC just to try to get in that thing because he's not polling well in their polls, but he polls well in other polls. But hey, that's how the Democrats play ball, and it's great for President Trump. It's great. Democrats got hit a bunch of times last night on how good the economy is. When they tried to say Trump's not good for minorities, they're like, well, what about the job numbers? What about all those jobs? What about the fact that we have the lowest unemployment in the American black community right now in our history? That's pretty major. Democrats don't like it, but hey, Donald Trump, it's great for him, and it got brought up a lot in the debate last night, and you know what? Not a single one of them had a good answer. I think old Julian Castro went up there and said, well, it was Obama that did it. Hey, Julian, Obama's been gone for 3.5 years now. Get over it. No one remembers you. No one really likes you that much, Julian. You had your best performance. I don't think anyone's going to care. I just don't. That's the reality. Then, let's be honest with this, too. When Kamala Harris and Joe Biden come out of a debate looking weaker than socialists, that's pretty great for President Trump. Because America's not going to vote for a socialist. That'll propel him into office. And when their front runners of their moderates looked at that terrible, well, that's a pretty good night for the president. And I think he would agree. Oh, and also, let's not forget, Donald Trump raised $105 million for his campaign in just Q2. The highest raising Democrat was Bernie Sanders at, I believe, right around $25 million. Donald Trump has 4 times the war chest in Q2 alone, crushing it, absolutely destroying them. So, the real winner of last night's debate, despite not being on the stage, was President Donald John Trump. This is how it is. Democrats are shooting themselves in the foot, and I say more power to them to do it. CNN, pretty junky host, honestly. A lot of people are very upset with them, but what can you expect? Their boss, Zucker, is biased towards Kamala, which is actually kind of great last night, because Kamala, every time they gave her the camera, she lost it. She lost it. Thank you guys for tuning into the show. You can follow me and like my videos on Facebook.com/Ben Goldman Show, on Twitter at RealDatingGold, or on Podbean to watch my podcast at bengoldman.podbean.com. Thank you guys so much. I'm looking forward to talking to you again tomorrow.